Welcome back to my channel. My name is Isabel Knight, and I am the middle grade fantasy author of the Enchantress series. And today I thought it would be fun to do a video that I have seen a lot of other AuthorTubers do, and I thought it would be fun to do my own. And that video is basically, the mid-year writing goals check-in. So if you don't know what that is, it is basically, I guess, like a video where, a lot of authors or writers have, goals for the year. And basically, like in the middle of the year, in either, I guess, like June or July, they will just do a mid-year writing goal check-in, because, the definition is literally in the name. But, yeah, I thought it would be fun to do my own. So, as you can see over here, I have, my bullet journal, and yes, I do keep a bullet journal. I really enjoy bullet journaling. And over here, I have written, a whole bunch of goals for 2025, and I'm going to share some of them with you. Alright, so, the first goal I had for 2025 was write 3 to 4 books. And if you're confused about this one, I actually wrote, the Enchantress series in, actually, a relatively short amount of time, because, the books, they really just came really quickly and naturally for me. I wasn't, forcing myself to rush, but the books really did just come naturally to me, and I managed to get, around 3 books written and completed in 2024. Okay, so I probably shouldn't say completed, because, of course, the drafts were not all completed, but at least I did get, the drafts of 3 books done. And I've also heard a lot of people say that indie authors should release a book every 2 to 3 months to keep their audience engaged, and I'll just say this up front, that is not going to happen. There is no way in the history of planet Earth I am ever going to be able to write and release books 2 to 3 months, every 2 to 3 months, because that is kind of just a little bit too much for me. But, back then I did not know how long my current work in progress was going to be, and I'd written the Enchantress series relatively quickly, and so I thought I would be able to write 3 to 4 books this year. I think this is one of those goals where it's not going to happen. Yeah, so that's not happening. And the second goal kind of has something to do with the first one, and that is to publish 3 to 4 books this year. Again, let me see. It's kind of a bit complicated, because I don't think I will be able to publish 3 to 4, original, works, original full-length middle-grade fantasy novels, because that is definitely not happening. But, as for publishing 3 to 4 books, I actually do hope to publish 3 books this year, because, of course, there is a final book in the Enchantress series, which is coming out July 20th, 2025. Pre-order link is in the description below if you want to check that out. But, yeah, and there's, The Last Hope, which is coming out July 20th. And then there's also the fantasy anthology that I am putting out and really need to complete my short story for. But I am putting out and publishing a fantasy anthology this year. And if Island Keepers gets done in 2025, then I might publish it sometime during December or January. Hopefully December. So technically, if I do that, it would technically be publishing 3 books. So we might be able to make this goal, but at the same time, it is probably one of those goals where I'm not going to force myself to complete, because there's no way, I'm writing 3 to 4 books this year, and Island Keepers has been one of the hardest books I've ever had to write, and it's honestly quite a struggle, so I don't know if I'm going to be done by December, but fingers crossed, I guess. Okay, so goal number 3 is a goal that I actually completed, and that is to finish book 4. And I did do that, because as I've mentioned, it's going to be released pretty soon, which is absolutely crazy. But, yeah, goal number 3 was to finish book 4 of the Enchantress series, and it took a really long time for me to get around to doing this, because I was honestly dreading revisions so much, and, just writing draft 6 was really hard. Something just felt off about the story, and, it wasn't until I had, a sort of brainstorming session with another author that I actually figured out the right direction for book 4 and started, just writing a brand new 6th draft, and, that it's now getting published. Also, my mind is still honestly in disbelief. But yeah, I did complete goal number 3, which I am super excited about. Goal number 4 was to finish book 1. So I feel like a lot of my goals are kind of obscure if you don't know about my writing projects, because, I often say stuff like just finish book 4 and not mention which series I'm working on. But for anyone who's confused, Island Keepers is a standalone. I know I said in the previous videos that there's a book 2 and a book 3. While I might have a sequel and Return to That World, right now, maybe it's going to be a standalone. It could possibly be divided up into a duology, but right now my goal is to have it as a standalone. And what I meant by finish book 1 was actually to finish, a different book 1, because at that time I was working on a different writing project, KNA. And for those of you who have been around my channel for a while now, you will know that KNA is the middle grade fantasy that I was trying to complete for NaNoWriMo, and the draft was a complete mess. My mental health wasn't great while I was writing that book, and I eventually ended up abandoning that book, and I might return to it someday, but I don't know. And so it was the first in a series, and that was what I meant by finish book 1, and that is not happening, sadly. Maybe I will complete this book sometime in the future, but for now it is probably just going to be sitting in the back of my brain, marinating for a bit, I guess. Okay, and goal number 5 is to get paperbacks out. And by that, I mean, get the paperbacks for the Enchantress series out. Actually, I don't think you can see the books, so, me gesturing at them is useless, but, yeah, so, one of my goals for 2025 is to get all of the paperbacks in the Enchantress series out, and also to change the trim size of the Enchantress series from 6 by 9 inches to 5 by 8 inches, because 6 by 9 is pretty big, and I really can't get around how big it is. And so, one of my goals was to change the trim size and get the rest of the paperbacks out. This is a goal that, I can't really say if I've succeeded or not, because I will have to go to Thailand to receive the proof copies for the books before I can actually release them and, check for printing errors and all of that. And because, you cannot really ship books to where I live. Long story short, it's a huge hassle, to say the least. But yeah, I mean, we shall see about goal number 5, I guess. Goal number 6 was a goal I added on I don't know what I was thinking when I added this goal. I think I just wanted to, try it for fun, and that is to try hardcovers with a special, like a sort of special edition with a map. And, this would be so much fun to experiment with, but I don't think that's happening this year because we don't really need a hardcover. And also, if I were to actually do hardcovers, then I would not be able to use KDP because KDP's hardcovers, they don't have the dust jacket, and they also, when they print, there's also some sort of sticky substance often found on the hardcovers. And so if I were to try hardcovers, I would probably need to use Ingram Spark, and that is probably not happening in 2025. Like, I might do a hardcover sometime in the future that has like special extras, deleted scenes or something, but that'll probably happen once I actually have more readers, so that is not happening in 2025. Goal number 7 is, okay, so I guess this is actually more of a life goal than a writing goal, and that is to learn to play the ukulele. For those of you who don't know, I do have a ukulele, and one of my goals for 2025 was to actually learn to play it, because I've had this ukulele for years, and I've never been patient enough to learn the chords and actually learn to play the ukulele. But that is one of my goals for 2025, and I'm actually surprised to say that I actually am learning to play the ukulele. I can now play Happy Birthday on the ukulele. So, yeah. And I'm currently learning some more chords, and I'm going to see if I can attempt to play Soldier, Poet, King on the ukulele. I'm really struggling with switching chords while strumming, so we'll see how that goes. But I am learning to play the ukulele, so that's great. Let's see, what goal are we on now? Okay, so goal number 8. Is this goal number 8? Okay, yeah, I think we're on to goal number 8, and that is it's really I don't know if this counts as a goal, more like something I would like to do in 2025, and that is to meet other supportive authors. And yeah, so I actually have done that, and I've met a bunch of other writers. I've done a lot of author interviews. I've stayed in touch with some of the authors I've interviewed, and they have been really kind, really amazing. I really do think that Kindle authors are some of the nicest people on the planet. And so, yeah, I actually have met other supportive authors. And goal number 9. This is it's somewhat related to the previous one, and that is to do more author interviews. So, you probably already know by now, but, in the beginning of 2025, in, I guess, January, I got the idea to do some author interviews, and I don't remember exactly where I got the idea to do that. I think it was probably from, a podcast that I really love to listen to on Spotify, Middle Grade Matters. It is a fantastic podcast for middle grade writers, readers, anyone who's interested about the world of middle grade writing and publishing, and you should definitely check that podcast out. And so I did get the idea. I probably did get the idea from that podcast because the host would interview a bunch of middle grade authors, and I thought, how cool would it be if I could do that on my blog and YouTube channel? And, suffice to say, I was terrified when I emailed the first author, because, who would not be terrified? But, that author actually did respond, and she was very kind, and she did let me interview her, and so that was really amazing. And ever since then, I have done a bunch more author interviews on both my blog and my YouTube channel, and you can check all of those out if you want to. They're on my blog, springfallschronicle.com, and there's also a whole playlist of author interviews on my YouTube channel. But yeah, so I actually have, achieved this goal. And goal 11, which is something I added only a bit later, and this is the last goal on my 2025 goals list. I might add some more later, but that goal is to finish, of course, Island Keepers. Again, you all probably know what Island Keepers already is. It's my work in progress, middle grade fantasy / action and adventure, which is basically sort of pitched as Spark meets Skandar and the Unicorn Thief, I guess. And yeah, so that is my, 10th goal, and also my last goal, and I can't say if I've achieved this goal or not, because, of course, I have not completed Island Keepers. I certainly hope I won't abandon Island Keepers, since I've already spent 7 months on this, but I am currently working on Island Keepers. I'm currently in Act 2, I think. I'm getting closer to Act 3. I will say that, and I'm pretty happy about that. And I've probably had countless meltdowns over this book. I have a million notes in a notebook. I don't know where the notebook is right now, but I have a million notes for this book in my notebook. And yeah, I hope to complete Island Keepers in 2025. We will see how it goes, I guess. And I actually do have another goal, which is actually not written in my bullet journal, so that is why I didn't realize it until now. But that is basically a reading goal. And, every year I like to set myself just a little fun reading goal on Kindle. Just every year, how many books I would like to read this year. It's nothing really serious, and I'm not too serious about reaching that number of books read this year, because I just really want to read books for the fun of it. Books are amazing. But my goal for 2025 was to read 200 books this year. And I don't know if it's a good idea to say this on camera or not, because I have seen so many people say there are a lot of AuthorTubers who say they read books, but don't actually read that many books, and I'm not one of those people. I am a very avid reader. I have Kindle Unlimited. I devour books really quickly. I am a speed reader, and I'm also a book blogger, so, publishers and authors will often send me, review copies to review on my blog. But, yeah, my reading goal for this year is 200 books. Again, not super serious about this goal, but, I am getting closer to reaching that goal. I have read 135 books this year or something like that, I guess. It's recorded on my Kindle, so. But yeah, I do have 135 books read this year, so perhaps we will get to 200 books this year. I don't know, but it would be pretty fun to read 200 books this year. But yeah, I think those are probably all of my 2025 goals, and that probably wraps up this mid-year goal check-in. As you can see, I have quite a lot of, writing goals and all of that. I don't know how many of them I will achieve, but we'll see about that, I guess. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit more about my 2025 writing goals and, also reading goals. And if you're a writer, feel free to comment down below on what your own writing goals for 2025 are. And yeah. So yeah, that probably wraps up this video. If you enjoyed hearing me ramble on about writerly and bookish stuff, then, feel free to head to my blog, springfallschronicle.com, where I have a lot of super fun things like middle grade book reviews, author interviews, and, of course, monthly writing updates. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for coming, and, yeah, I shall see you guys in the next video, I guess. And, wish me luck with the rest of my 2025 goals. But, yeah. I suppose I shall see you guys in the next video. Alright, bye!